Hey everyone, it's Brian here from Massey's Main Entertainment. I want to welcome everybody back to the second half of our top 100 favorite movies of all time. Join me as always are my good friends Randy Nelson. Randy, how you doing?
Doing fine.
Doc's joining us from Toronto, going through some type of withdrawals because the Blue Jays stink this year or something. I'm not sure.
This is true.
You
This is
didn't give
true.
me you didn't give me all the information yet. And then Rich, who finally worked his way and he actually got a seat. He had to pay extra, but it's his fault. He didn't have a Venmo account to transfer the money over, and they made him sit in a bubble there for a couple of weeks. But we're good now. I really appreciate you guys joining us. We're in part 6 now of our countdown from 100. This will make us sure that we're doing tonight. We should be doing number 50 down to number 41. So like I said, we're in the second half here, and I'm really excited about it. Now it starts to really, I looked at this top 50 and I'm going, I just can't think about moving anything. There's nothing to move out, and there's definitely nothing moving up or down. I just can't see it happening. So, but you guys tell me, how are we doing on this second half here?
I think you're going to start to see more matches here, and I've got quite a few on my next 10. I know.
Yeah.
I would
Doc,
say, I don't know about, yeah, we'll have some matches maybe from the back half matching up now as we move along from stuff that our people have already mentioned and stuff like that.
yeah,
But I still think everyone's going to have something personal to themselves as they move too. So there's going to be, I think, a little bit of that still until maybe we get a little further along to the closer to the top, I think. But that's my
yeah,
2 cents.
yeah. I think you're right. Rich, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with every what everyone said. There's going to be one or two personals, and the rest are going to be things that I expect. If they're not already on somebody's list, they will be later on. So
Yeah. I feel much the same way. I was looking at my list and I'm going, yeah, I'm going to start to mention a lot of movies that I know you guys are going to either have mentioned or you definitely are going to mention, especially Rich and Doc, who I've done videos with before. I know these
right.
movies are going to come up. Randy's the wild card here for me, as I don't know them as well, but I'm pretty sure that they're going to be half of them I've never heard of. But that's fine too. I'm learning as I go. I was really disappointed I couldn't find Sullivan's Travels anywhere for free to watch. So I'm still looking for that so I can watch that movie. So,
Yeah.
so we're going to start tonight's video. In the order tonight, Doc, you went last week, so you got to go first this week. Randy will follow you up. Rich, you get to go third, and I get to back clean up tonight. And let's dive in here, guys. Who's got to start? Doc, you got to start us.
Doc, here I go.
Do it.
We'll jump right in, man. We're starting the second half right now. Number 50, right out of the gate. I'm going to have Brian De Palma's 1987 The Untouchables at number 50 for me.
Yep.
Yeah, great crime drama thriller kind of flick. De Niro, Andy Garcia, Sean Connery. Elliot Ness taking down Al Capone. Some pretty iconic scenes in the movie, man. I'm telling you, there's De Niro's fantastic. Connery wins the Oscar, but there's some really good back and forth, even almost who can you trust kind of moments inside this movie, and there's lots of things I like about this movie in a lot of senses. But some of the scenes in there, some of them can be pretty vicious, and some of them they're really, really well done. It's De Palma, man. De Niro, Costner, obviously the lead as Elliot Ness, but it's a personal favorite for me, man. I got The Untouchables. They're all personal favorites. Number 49 is a personal favorite. I got Midnight Run from 1988. So one of the better comedies in my eyes. I think it's De Niro actually showing a great side. I think it works really, really well here with Charles Grodin, who's basically going to ride out. He's knows too much about some embezzling money there from the mob side of things, and he's the key witness that the mob's trying to get, and De Niro's trying to take him back to a bail bondsman here. There's a lot of good intertwining stories here, and the comedy, they play off each other. The language is awful. John Astin is the other bounty hunter who's trying to take Charles Grodin back, and the bounty money that takes to get him back is, shall we say, debatable on who's getting paid what. But I think it's a classic comedy kind of movie, my kind of flick, and a great comedy, man. That's right in my neighborhood. So that's my number 49. I have some comedies in here, man. 48. I got Jerry David Zucker's 1980 Airplane, which I think is probably, if not one of the best slapstick comedies of all time. It's right there for me, especially as one of the new ones. I grew up loving this movie. I watched it forever in a day straight. Yeah, it's a play on the airport series movies and stuff like that, on the disaster side and stuff like this. But Julie Haggerty and Robert Hayes, but Robert Stack and all these other guys making appearances. Lloyd Bridges, Peter Graves, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. There's a whole bunch of different things that happen. The script is freaking hilarious, man. That's all I can tell you. You want slapstick comedy at its best. These guys were pros at it. And this is really top notch for me. Number 47. Maybe not a surprise, but you're going to hear it. But maybe where it is might be. But 1979, I got Rocky 2. The sequel to Rocky, which I have a little higher on my list. Spoiler alert. I don't mind saying that. But I think this picks up right where the first one leaves off. And that's exactly what happens in the movie. But Stallone gets to direct this. He still writes it, directs it. Stallone with Rocky 1 and 2, that's his best work in my eyes. 3 starts to get a little tainted. First Blood's pretty good. A couple little spots in his career here and there, over the top, see you later. There's spots in there. There's a lot of dogs in there too, but this is peak. This is what sends him off. And I think that the continuation of the story in Rocky to Rocky 2 and the personal side of it, I think it's a really, really well done sequel to a fantastic original. So I got Rocky 2 at number 47. Comedies keep coming for me, man. The Rockumentary from 1984. This is Spinal Tap. They're going to come in here for me, man. Another easy watch for me, man. I think it's the tongue-in-cheek of British humor that they try to incorporate into this movie is friggin' the loudest rock band from the 60s, making a comeback in the 80s here. Listen to the Flower People, too. Big Bottoms and stuff like this. They got quite the gamut of tunes here, man. So it's Christopher Guest. It's Meathead, Rob Reiner, Michael McKean, and Harry Shearer running Spinal Tap. Actually, they're doing another one now, I think I heard too. So I don't know why they ever want to go back and mess with the classic, but that's a real first-hand look at a rock band trying to make a comeback into the music industry in the 80s. And that's really, really friggin' hilarious. The tunes are hilarious, let alone sometimes pretty catchy. I'm going to leave it to 45. I'm going to go with the original Terminator in 84. Maybe a little surprised that it's here too, but it's kind of lost a little bit of its luster over time with me, but it's still a classic in my eyes. The sci-fi, action sci-fi, James Cameron, really catapulted Schwarzenegger into stardom. This is what it is, Michael B. It's the great, come back and kill John Connor before he's born storyline here that the Terminator revolves around. And it's a classic movie, man. It's visually awesome. Classic scene. Schwarzenegger's fantastic as the Terminator. Man, that's a role he was meant to play, if you want the truth. So, you see how it sent them off. Terminator's a classic. Placement might be one thing, but it's in my top 100. But I'd watch it at any time. So, what's that tell you? 44. I'm going to go to 1959. Brian, I know you're going to have this way, way higher, brother. But it's North by Northwest for me. So, here's Hitchcock doing a real campy spy thriller flick. And it's got that it's almost like a comfort movie for me in some senses, man. It's just something I could watch at any time. There's flow to it, and James Mason and Cary Grant, and Marie Saint. It's the mistaken identity to leading to a whole bunch of things that just catapult and build on each other as it goes. And some classic iconic scenes that you've seen in Hitchcock movies, from Cary Grant almost getting run over by a plane in a field, let alone anything else. But it's Mount Rushmore. There's a whole bunch of fantastic scenes in the movie, but it's Hitchcock near peak for me, man. North by Northwest is a classic. Number 43, we'll go to 1963. The Great Escape. I guess I can blame my dad for this one, man, because that's always 3 hours of my life that I can't get away from when I put it on, and I'll just watch it at any time. So it's the ensemble cast, the original ensemble cast. It was like a fantastic movie. Richard Attenborough, James Coburn, obviously Steve McQueen, Charles Bronson. There's a whole bunch of people in this movie here. Maverick, James Gardner, British and American, basically soldiers that have been always escaping prison camps inside Germany, and the Germans are getting a little pissed off that it's happening all the time, so they all just put them together. It's still their job to try to break out. So it's loosely based on some real life events, but look, it's got some really great scenes. It's campy at times. It's got some underlying humor at times, but it's still a war movie. It's a fantastic scene with my buddy there, Stevie, riding a motorcycle. That's the iconic scene from the movie, but yeah, it's a great one, man. Number 42 from 2006, The Departed, Scorsese. Here's another ensemble cast, man. And it just works so well. Scorsese does his thing, man. What can you do? The crime thriller, backstabbing, who can you trust? Bad guys, good guys, cops, moles. DiCaprio's fantastic. Damon's fantastic. Jack is fantastic. Everybody is fantastic in this movie, especially when you get that scene. They're all hitting, man. They're all fantastic in this movie. Another one of those ones. Anytime, put it on. Even like Wahlberg. So he's good in it too. So Departed, number 42. 41. Going to 1982. Spielberg E.T. For me. My kid comfort movie, man. What can I do? But he really did have that fantasy aspect. It's a fantasy movie, man, for kids. And I was a kid when I saw it. It still holds a place for me, man. What can I tell you? Misdirection, the kids outsmarting the adults, and all these undertones to the movie and stuff. But E.T. just wants to go home, man. Just some scientists checking out some plants that got caught up at the wrong spot at the wrong time. A little action adventure, fantasy kid movie, close to my heart still. So E.T.'s in my top 50, man. It's number 41.
Nice.
Great.
All right. Yeah. So a couple of those, I'm going to have later on, for sure.
Probably. Yeah.
And I do like the Enthusiasms pick at number 50. Enthusiasm.
That's right.
I thought you had
I
a
was gonna
great
say teamwork.
You turned it up to 11.
Fantastic. There you go. Thank you, Randy.
Good one.
Nice. All right. Randy, you're on deck then, bud.
All right. You were waiting for me to pick a silent film. Well, here it is. 1931, City Lights by Charlie Chaplin. This film has some very funny moments, but it also has quite a touch. It is quite touching as Charlie Chaplin's character falls for a blind flower girl. Of course, he was known as the Little Tramp. And it's a charmer and probably my favorite Chaplin film. Number 49 from 1969, The Wild Bunch, directed by Sam Peckinpah. Some say Sam Peckinpah killed the Western as we know it, and with this film, and this film certainly deals with the death of the Old West, and you get a bunch of grizzled outlaws vying to make one last score. It's violent, often in slow motion, profane, and there's some sexual content in here as well. Roy Rogers would not recognize this film. It has, of course, William Holden, Ernest Borgnine, Warren Oates, and Robert Ryan all shine, and Lucian Ballard's magnificent cinematography. So that's my 49. Number 48 from 1950, All About Eve, directed by Joseph Mankiewicz. Beautifully written and directed by him. We see the rise of a scheming, aspiring actress in Anne Baxter, trying to dethrone the older queen of the theater and Betty Davis. George Sanders also shines as the sharp-tongued theater columnist Addison DeWitt. Also has a great Celeste Holm and Thelma Ritter, who sees right through Eve before anyone else. This one has some of the best dialogue I think ever written for movies. So many classic lines. Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night, as Betty Davis would say. Number 47. A couple of you have already picked this. It's from 1968, Rosemary's Baby, directed by Roman Polanski. I'll just say that I love how the Dakota, a New York apartment building, kind of becomes a character in this story. And we have these mysterious neighbors, expertly played by Sidney Blackmer and Ruth Gordon. It's kind of a slow build-up where Mia Farrow's suspicions grow increasingly frightening. And it's also expertly shot by Polanski. Great psychological, supernatural horror film. Number 46, I think someone's mentioned this one too. From 1951, The Day the Earth Stood Still, directed by Robert Wise. Was that you?
That was me.
Okay. This is a sci-fi classic that's not built on special effects, but is a thought-provoking examination of how Earthlings would deal with aliens concerned about our nuclear proliferation and their threats to the U.S. for us to get our act together. It's wonderful black and white cinematography and has a great Bernard Herrmann score. Number 45, from 1962, Lawrence of Arabia, directed by David Lean. Much like Sergio Leone and several of his films, Lean takes his time in telling the story of T.E. Lawrence, played expertly by Peter O'Toole. It's a grand movie made for the big screen with spectacular vistas, and I would call it the thinking man's epic, a film both mesmerizing and poetic. Few films look more spectacular than this, especially on the big screen. Number 44, someone else has mentioned this movie as well. From 1958, it's Touch of Evil, directed by Orson Welles. Known for having one of the most famous opening crane shots without a cut, running around 3.5 minutes. It's a unique film noir set in a border town with Orson Welles bigger than life, playing a corrupt police captain. And the visual style is just as flamboyant and bigger than life, with tension in every frame. It's a crime tour de force. Number 43, from 1968, Planet of the Apes, directed by Franklin Schaeffer. I still remember the amazement I had when first seeing this, and my astonishment was the same as Charlton Heston's character when he realized that he has entered a world controlled by primates. While special effects have improved, subsequent films do not convey the uniqueness of the original, and the interactions between man and ape seem more genuine here. It also has one of the great final shots.
Holy.
Number 42, from 1996, it's the Coen brothers' Fargo. This movie has one of my favorite characters in Police Chief Marge Gunderson, played by Frances McDormand, and the trial, on the trail of these responsible for the murder of 3 people, at least initially 3 people, all the while pregnant and with that wonderful Minnesota accent. It also gives me a chuckle when it's called a true story, and of course it's all made up. I had a friend of mine that was so disappointed when he found out that the Coen brothers just made this up. There's nothing true about this story. But I thought it was funny. But it's a great suspense thriller that also is a dark comedy in a way.
Yeah.
Uniquely Coen brothers. And my number 41, another one I think that's already been mentioned. That's from 1948, Treasure of the Sierra Madre, directed by John Huston, examines what the lure of gold will do to men. It's a great performance by Humphrey Bogart as Fred C. Dobbs, who can't control his greed and his selfishness. John Huston masterfully directs, and his father, Walter Huston, has some of the most memorable scenes, which helped him snag an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. And he also has a great laugh in this one as well. That's my 41.
Wow, I was really surprised at that list because we matched on 3 out of those, and 2 of them are 2 other ones will come down the road for
Yep.
me. So, kind of looking forward to getting to those. Did anybody else have Treasure on the Sierra Madre? I didn't think so.
No,
Oh,
I didn't have it.
I guess for some reason I was thinking someone did. I guess not.
Okay, what'd you guys think?
Yeah, it's about it. Great
great
films in
list.
there.
Oh yeah.
It was.
I'm like 50-50 on that. I have half your list.
Yeah.
Either or will be coming or I've already talked about.
Yep.
Yep.
Same here.
And I think you had a different John Huston flick too, did you, Rich?
I did have one and I can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
Oh, it was
Film noir.
yeah.
Hmm.
The one with the robbery with Marilyn Monroe in the supporting role and the heck was it? Whatever.
Yeah.
I
Oh, yeah,
did
sorry.
have it.
Yeah.
All right.
Sterling Hayden was in it and I can tell you who was in it. I just can't tell you the name
Can't
of it.
remember the name of it.
All right. Well, give us your list, Rich. Let's get
Well,
to
my list at number 50, I have an exact match with Randy. City Lights at number 50
nice.
from 1931. I mean, right on the money. My favorite silent film. I have a lot of the same notes that Randy had about, the little tramp character that Chaplin played in quite a few films, falling in love with the blind flower girl. The ending of the film is absolutely priceless, that last scene. The phrase genius is way overused, but it definitely applies to Charlie Chaplin. This is a special movie and one of my all-time favorites at number 50. Number 49. I'm probably out on my own on this one, but I just saw it the other night again, and it reminded me how much I love this film, and that's Harold and Maude from 1971, directed by the great Hal Ashby, who I've touted before as favorite director. Unlikely love story of the 80-year-old woman played by Ruth Gordon and the 20-year-old man played by Bud Cort. They meet at a funeral as strangers, don't even know each other. They found a friendship. Just an offbeat, quirky, romantic, funny, heartwarming, unusual story, and it just works for me. I like the Cat Stevens soundtrack. Ruth Gordon really makes the film. I mean, Bud Cort he's quirky and unusual, but he sort of walks through it. He's not much of an actor. It's the only thing I've ever seen him in that was effective. And I just love Ruth Gordon, not only in Rosemary's Baby, but in Harold and Maude. It's a cult classic, too.
Right.
Number 48, True Romance from 1993, directed by Tony Scott from a Quentin Tarantino script. It's got Quentin written all over it with these wild characters and the high energy. It's action, it's romantic, it's entertaining as hell. Colorful characters, one memorable scene after another. I mean, you can go right down the list. Brilliant dialogue. It's very violent at times. Stars Christian Slater and Patricia Arquette. Great chemistry between them. You got the classic Dennis Hopper and Christopher Walken scene where they're intimidating. He's trying to get information out of him, and Hopper's giving it right back to the mob guy Walken. I love James Gandolfini in here as a hitman. Brad Pitt is the slacker on the couch smoking pot and just totally oblivious to what's going on around him. And Gary Oldman is the pimp. Gary Oldman is the pimp. Is just it's one of his unique performances. What can I say? It's a one of a kind film.
Yeah.
So it's got to be on my list at 48. Number 47, I've got Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, legendary Stephen King novel adapted to the screen with Jack Nicholson and Shelley Duvall, the late Shelley Duvall. She passed recently. This is an isolation kind of film that turns into madness. It's a slow burn of a horror film. Masterfully directed. Some of the angles and the camera work here by Kubrick are just phenomenal. Jack Nicholson hamming it up as Jack Torrance in the lead role. But I don't consider it over the top. This is a crazy person and an unusual situation. I love the mansion where they're at, the snow all around them. If you haven't seen it, there's so many catchphrases here. Here's Johnny, and you got red rum and all work and no play make Jack a dull boy. All the memorable stuff within one movie. So that's my number 47. Number 46, Steven Spielberg, 1977, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I've said this before when we did other sci-fi stuff. This is my kind of sci-fi movie. I can immerse myself in it. I believe what's going on. There's not a lot of unbelievable special effects with fights and stuff like that. It's the aliens coming to Earth, contacting humans in Midwest suburbs. You got Richard Dreyfuss, Terry Garr, and Melinda Dillon in the acting roles. They're all fantastic, I think. At the time, this was state-of-the-art special effects with some of the technology of the spacecraft towards the end, the little things coming around the railroad track, the little sizes of the different aircraft or UFOs as they were, just jaw-dropping at the time, visually stunning. I'm so glad I saw it on the big screen because it definitely is one of those, like Randy talked about with Lawrence of Arabia. This, to get the full experience, you really need to see this on the big screen, in my opinion. So, number 45. This is I believe Doc had this earlier. It's Witness from 1985, directed by Peter Weir, starring Harrison Ford in one of his better roles. Different genres here. You got the romance, you got the crime thriller, suspenseful as all heck. A lot of drama with the cops. It's a cop from the city who is protecting a witness, a young child, and his mother, who happened to be Amish. They're out there in Lancaster County, I believe, Pennsylvania. Harrison Ford really sinks into this role, different from what he's used to with all the, heroes like in Star Wars or Raiders. He's sort of a regular guy here, shows a different side of him. He's great in everything. I don't want to just diminish what he does because he's a fantastic actor. I believe he was nominated here for Best Actor, and deservedly so. Real strong film. It still holds up. It's 38 years later and still really a good movie, I think. Witness. Number 44, going to turn back the clock a little bit. 1941, John Huston directing The Maltese Falcon. Number 44, superior film noir based on the Dashiell Hammett novel. You got Humphrey Bogart playing Sam Spade, a San Francisco private eye. It's a complex, maybe even convoluted story, but it's gritty, it's atmospheric, mysterious, suspenseful, loaded with blackmail and corruption and deceit, villains, femme fatales, all the things you want in a noir. Just a tremendous film. And, Bogart, everything he's in the 40s is first rate. I mean, really is. He's one of those characters that he can play himself pretty much, and you're going to buy him into him. He's got the craggy face and the one-liners, and I just think he's a fantastic actor. I just wonder what he would have been like later in life. I think he died at I don't think he made 60 years of age, but he was one of the best actors of all time for me. Number 43, Dog Day Afternoon, directed by Sidney Lumet from 1975. Other than the first two Godfather films, this is probably Al Pacino's best performance in my eyes. Al Pacino and the late John Cazale play these two bank robbers in New York City. It's the hottest day of the year. Things go haywire, and they end up taking about a dozen hostages in this bank. You got the great negotiation scenes out in the street with Charles Durning and Pacino, and can we get some pizzas for these people? And just the realistic kind of dialogue. And in the meantime, they got the snipers on the roof, and they're trying to get in the back. All this drama takes place. John Cazale looks like he's going to snap at any second and start whacking people. I mean, we've talked about his character many times. This is a loose cannon on the run here. Totally different than Fredo. He may look the same, but he's trigger happy. I think he's ready to start whacking people. The subplot here with Pacino's lover, played by Chris Sarandon, is important too. They're actually robbing the bank to fund his sex change operation. Just a wild ride. Explosive, entertaining, and pulsating and powerful. All the adjectives you want to use. It's a great movie. Number 42, I've got Midnight Cowboy from 1969, directed by John Schlesinger. I know it's kind of a downer. It's a sad movie, but it's a realistic look at these two misfits in New York City in the late 60s, forming this friendship, just trying to survive in the poverty and loneliness and hopelessness of living on the streets and the vacant tenements and scraping and grifting and pimping for food and shelter among the decay of New York City at that time. John Voight plays Joe Buck, and a great Dustin Hoffman as Ratso Rizzo. Unforgettable. It's dirty. It's seedy. But if you like acting, the top of the mountain here, this is the one. It's authentic. You got that Andy Warhol-esque kind of party that they get an invite to because they're strange looking and they end up going there. And there's so many great scenes in here with Hoffman say, "Get out of my way," with the taxi cab. And that was realistic. He almost got run over, but they worked it into the movie. Number 41. This is a European film, 1966, Blow Up, directed by Michelangelo Antonioni, starring David Hemmings as a fashion photographer who's living the mod lifestyle in the swinging 60s. He's in a little menage a trois up in his apartment, and he happens to capture what appears to be a death on film with his camera. With these two lovers in the park, he's snapping shots, and when he's blowing up the photographs in the dark room, he sees what appears to be a dead man, and you either like this kind of film or not. It's very slow, but it's meticulous in the way it puts together him solving the crime or attempting to. You put yourself in his shoes and in the dark room and in his mind and what he's piecing together here. I just like this kind of flick. You sink into the mystery and trying to figure out what's truth, what's illusion, that type of thing. So it's intriguing. It's voyeuristic in a way, but it works for me. It's number 41, Blow Up.
Nice. Yeah, we had quite a few either matches or future matches from that list, Rich. I was really happy to see you had True Romance in your top 50. Just absolutely. I'm a little surprised, but I know you like Tarantino. So if you go by the script alone and the dialogue, I was okay. I was definitely okay with it. I mean, hell, I even like Elvis Presley in that movie, played by Val Kilmer, voice only. I just think it's great. It's just great.
Yeah. Cool.
Anybody else?
It's a really no, it's a great list. I mean, that's a like you want in terms of me, that could be a doc list at any time, man. That's 10 right there. In all senses, 9 of those 10 I can put on at any time. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah, I know the one you don't like is Harold and Maude, but that's cool. I can live with that.
But I don't mind Harold and Maude, but it would have been my it's an okay movie for me, but it's the other ones I can throw on at any time. Yeah, it's different. Right. Yeah. And to be fair, I've only seen it twice, so
cool.
Okay, want to move on to my list?
Here we go.
All right, let's get this done, guys. All right, so for me, I want to first thank Randy here for my number 50. I've got Jean-Pierre Melville, 1967, Le Samurai. Thanks, Randy. I mean, for really getting me into this film. It's a neo-noir film centered around Jeff Costello, this meticulous and stoic hitman, which I really love the fact that you brought it up that the first 10 minutes is not even anything spoken in the movie. The movie did remind me a whole lot of The Professional. So I got to imagine that the director of that film probably did take quite a bit from it. So, but it's, you've already touched upon it, after being witnessed during an assassination, Costello's character is the target of the police investigation and betrayal by even his own employers. And the film explores those themes of existentialism and alienation, characterized by that minimalistic style of the film, which I really like, and the protagonist's adherence to a strict personal code akin to that of a samurai. That's the title. So fantastic. Thank you very much. Number 49, I've got Hell or High Water here, directed by David Mackenzie. I also think that Taylor Sheridan I think he co-wrote this or wrote it all together, from 2016. Modern, Western crime drama directed by Mackenzie, and it follows the two brothers, Toby and Tanner Howard, played by Ben Foster and Chris Pine, very wonderfully. who commit a series of bank robberies to save their family ranch and being pursued by Texas Ranger Marcus Hamilton, played by Jeff Bridges, and a great role for him. That film delves into the themes of economic hardship, family loyalty, justice, set in the backdrop of the decaying West Texas landscape, which is wonderfully shot in the film. Just a great film altogether. Number 48, a very near exact match with Rich here. I got Stanley Kubrick from 1980, The Shining.
Wow.
You already touched upon it. Yeah, we were really close on that, Rich. R.I.P. like you said, to Shelley Duvall, who recently passed away. Psychological horror, really. I know that Stephen King wasn't fond of this version of it, but I think this interpretation is good in its own right. But it films about Jack Torrance, an aspiring writer who takes a job as a winter caretaker in the isolated Overlook Hotel. Him and his wife Wendy and their son Danny, who talks to his future self like this, and named Tony, which is actually his middle name. We find that out in Doctor Sleep. Has psychic abilities and becomes trapped in a hotel as malevolent supernatural forces influence Jack into violent behavior. It's just an incredible shot film. Kubrick does this wonderful mixture of styles of zooming in, close-up shots, and just incredible stuff that goes on. Number 47 for me, I could have used the entire trilogy, but I'm going to go ahead and single out Lord of the Rings by Peter Jackson, The Fellowship of the Rings, which would have been the first one in 2001, because I really think it set the tone for the trilogy. And I think it has the best, opening line that would entice you into a movie right away. And it's spoken by Cate Blanchett's character when all she says is the world has changed. And so it immediately kind of sucks you in going, okay, how did it change? What are the extent of the changes and things like that? I thought it was incredible, but follows the journey of Frodo Baggins, a hobbit tasked with destroying the One Ring, very powerful ring to prevent the Dark Lord Sauron from conquering Middle Earth. He joins a fellowship of diverse group of allies forming from elves and dwarves and wizards and other hobbits and men and humans to go about this incredible journey. So I think Jackson does a wonderful job of making Middle Earth come to life in this, which would have been a significant task altogether. Number 46, I've got Alfred Hitchcock from 1960, Psycho, one of the films for the Bird trilogy. It's a psychological thriller about Marion Crane. There's that bird imagery, a secretary who embezzles money and seeks refuge at the secluded Bates Motel. There she encounters Norman Bates, who seemingly is this mild-mannered individual, but he's deeply troubled young man dominated by his mysterious mother without giving anything away. The film is renowned for its shocking twist, particularly the iconic shower scene and themes of identity, madness, and that dark depths of the human psyche. I especially like the ending where he's talking with the inner monologue and the fly is on his face and he doesn't even react to it, and he's saying to himself, he said, look, they're going to look at me and say that I wouldn't even harm a fly. So I thought that was really, really, really interesting. Number 45, I've got Children of Men by Alfonso Cuarón here from 2006. I think I covered this a little bit in our 21st century movies. Dystopian science fiction film set in a future where humans have become infertile and the society's on the brink of collapse. The story follows Theo Farron, played by Clive Owen here, a disillusioned bureaucrat who is tasked with protecting a miraculously pregnant woman, Key, as they navigate through a dangerous world to reach their sanctuary. Film explores themes of hope, survival, and that enduring human spirit amidst chaos and despair. I think it's a wonderful, wonderful film that will definitely stand the test of time. Number 44, I've got Back to the Future by Rob Zemeckis here from 1985. I think it's an ultimate family adventure film, science fiction film, really about Marty McFly, who accidentally travels back from 1985 to 1955 using a DeLorean time machine invented by his eccentric friend, Doc Brown, played greatly by Christopher Lloyd. In the past, Marty inadvertently disrupts his parents' first meeting and must ensure they fall in love to secure his own existence, all while finding a way to return to the future. Film is a wonderful blend of humor, action, those heartfelt moments, and while using the chaos theory as sort of the MacGuffin of the film, trying to set things right back in time. Number 43 for me, I've got a film by Anthony Minghella from 2003. I've got Cold Mountain here, based on Charles Frazier's novel. Is a historical drama set during the American Civil War. The film follows W.P. Inman, a wounded Confederate soldier who deserts the army to embark on a perilous journey home to Cold Mountain, North Carolina, to reunite with his beloved Ada Monroe, played by Nicole Kidman. Great job. Alongside his arduous journey, Ada struggles to maintain her deceased father's farm, and the film kind of dives into this themes of love and survival and the devastating impacts of war, especially the Civil War. Number 42, I have it higher here for its significance more than anything else, but it's still my second favorite of the series of the movies from George Lucas, 1977, Star Wars. Obviously, it was retitled later on as A New Hope once it began to have significant sequels. Really, it's a space opera that follows young farm boy Luke Skywalker as he is entangled in the Rebel Alliance, going up against an oppressive galactic empire, guided by this mystical Jedi Knight Obi-Wan Kenobi, played by Alec Guinness. Luke teams up with smuggler Han Solo, ergo Harrison Ford, and Princess Leia, Carrie Fisher, to destroy the Empire's evil Death Star. Really just a groundbreaking movie. I remember seeing it in the theater at a very young age and having nightmares about the Jawas, which, considering the horror movies, didn't bother me in the least, but for some reason I was scared of those little Jawas in the movie. But the last film that I'm going to touch on from number 41 here, guys, I got to tell you that it wasn't until I sat down again this weekend to look at my list that I realized this movie was here and that it was in the position that it was, and I was going to change it from 41 to 40 so that I didn't have to talk about it this week, but I just said I'm going to go ahead and keep it at 41 where it originally was. And you guys will know the reasons why, and that's Robert Redford from 1980, Ordinary People. I think it's a poignant drama about a suburban family grappling with the aftermath of a tragic accident, where it centers on Conrad Jared, played by Hutton, a teenager struggling with the guilt and depression after the death of his older brother, and his strained relationship with his emotionally distant mother, Beth, played by, help me out here, guys, Mary Tyler Moore.
Mary Tyler Moore.
Mary
Thank
Tyler
you
Moore.
very much. I think everybody is wonderful in this film. I think this is Donald Sutherland's best work. Definitely Hutton's best work. Through therapy and familial conflict, the film explores those themes of grief, healing, and the complexities of family dynamics. And I can't say enough about this movie. It is one of my favorite movies of all time. The only reason it's higher is it's not an easily rewatchable film, and maybe even more so now. And I won't go into the reasons on this video, but that's my list.
Well,
Excellent.
it's a great list. It's a great list. To add a little something, maybe like a little relief to the whole scenario and stuff like that. And I don't want to give future things away and stuff like that. But Brian and Rich, you guys were so close to having The Shining in the right group of 10. You missed it by one.
Missed it by one. That's yeah.
All I can tell you. I'm not going to give too much away, but that's all I'll say. But
Yeah, Ordinary People is absolutely unbelievable. The only reason I don't have it on the list is because of the rewatchability factor. Because it's so strong movie.
Yeah.
I love the acting and the storyline and everything about it. Redford proved he's a fantastic director. I like Children of Ben quite a bit too. That's another one that sticks out to me on that list, as well as Hell or High Water.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Well, nice.
there we go.
That's going to be all of our lists today. Then I really appreciate you guys joining me. I wish everyone out there would please like, sub, and comment down below. I hope that the guys who are keeping up with us doing their own countdown, I wanted to encourage them to keep on doing it themselves. I really enjoy looking at their list as well. What they disagree with us or agree with, and I think that's what makes it all wonderful for me. It's a good learning experience for me. Because a lot of times I run into films that I haven't seen, and it's great for me to go back and try to watch those in some capacity and see what it is that I missed. And I picked up La Samurai from Randy here, but I also picked up Harold and Maude from Rich much earlier. almost, maybe even a year ago, Rich, when you touched upon that movie initially, and I went and watched it, and I actually enjoyed it. I mean, it didn't make my top 100, which would be a really hard sell. It doesn't have the same personal impact maybe that it does for Rich, but it's still a very good movie. And if we were doing top 500, probably would be there for sure. But I want to thank everyone for joining us this week for our part 6 of this countdown, and we hope to see you again. Stay with us for the subsequent list coming up. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
See you.